Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, everyone. Assalamu alaikum, Osama.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. جزاك الله خير for having me.
It's my honor and it's my pleasure. I'm very glad that I have you as the first guest because we share something that can distinguish us, and we share the objective to empower Muslims in the business world. And you do that through your company, which is Muslim Ameer. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, جزاك الله خير. So Muslim Ameer is a organization that
Mhm.
empowers Muslims to be better leaders, to be better business owners, and to upskill them. So we aim to empower, enrich, and enlighten Muslims
Mhm.
worldwide through effective leadership and upskilling them in sales, in marketing, in business operations, in how to run their business, in how to manage their employees. And we use this using a framework which is called the SAFER framework that I developed, which is a 5-stage framework that is comprehensive, and it takes you from clarity to connection to compound, which is a formula that we use, which we call the prophetic mindset as well. So, alhamdulillah, this is how we do it. And we love working with Muslims. We love being Muslim. And I feel personally that Allah has prepared me over the years for this role in service to His Ummah now.
Alhamdulillah. Very interesting. Let me start by asking you about the safer framework. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so the Safer framework is a framework I developed. So I've been trying to build businesses for many years, alhamdulillah. Some were successful, some failed, as you can imagine, but this is part of the learning. And from all of this experience, I developed the Safer framework, which is a framework that empowers business owners
Mm.
to effectively get to the result they want, which is obviously a increase in the bottom line, doubling their profits, growing their business, scaling their business. And the framework breaks down into the first stage, which is the skeleton. So the skeleton of the business, the foundations of the business. And that's where we come in and we identify any holes or areas for improvement in the business. Usually business owners are very attached to their business. So they don't see where there's holes. Sometimes they might be spending a bit too much money on something in an area that's not yielding a good return on investment. But because it's their business, they are emotionally attached to it. So they don't see that as an issue. So when you get an external pair of eyes coming in, we can then identify this is what you should be doing instead of this. And these are where the holes are. The A is for alignment. So this is where we want everyone in the business to be aligned on the same mission, the same objectives, the same strategies. And this is where we have a larger organization, making sure everyone from the top to the bottom of the tree is aligned on the same objectives. And if you have a smaller business, it's just understanding the clarity. Where are we going? How do we want to get there? What's the strategies we want to implement? And every business owner is different. Every business is different. But the keys in business are the same, right? The fundamentals in business are the same, but it just the industry might vary, the ownership might differ, so therefore you have different solutions or different outcomes according to the tools that you have and the resources that you have and the personalities that you're working with. Then we go to the F, which is for fluidity. So business fluidity. And this is where we look at business operations. We look at your sales, your marketing, your logistics, your supply chain, your communication, everything to do with the operations inside your business. And we look at systems and processes. We look at what automations are you using and how can we improve this element. We've realized that with certain clients that we work with, this area of the business is fundamental to growth. We had one client where, for example, one department wasn't communicating enough with the other departments. You've got the tech department not liaising with the customer support department, which is causing a backlog in tickets being completed, which then has an impact on customer experience, which then has an impact on customer retention, which then impacts the bottom line. So the aim of the F in the framework, which is fluidity, is making sure everything is fluid. A lot of businesses struggle with sales and marketing, with lead generation, etc. So this area is really important in terms of how can we make your business run and operate as fluid and as best as possible. Then you look at the E. This is where we look at employee engagement. This is where we look at the you versus them formula. Me as a business owner, what do I have to do? for my employees, to make sure that they're driven, that they're motivated, that they have everything at their fingertips to utilize, like resources, any training materials. And then from them, what's their obligation? What's their duty? What are they supposed to be doing for us and with us? And it's a formula that we like to use to make sure that both parties agree, because between employer to employee, it's a 50-50 partnership, right? People misunderstand this. They sometimes think, I'm the boss, I'm paying you. But the other side is, I'm giving you my time, I'm doing the work. So sometimes, this could be misrepresented or misunderstood, or some people just may not think of it this way. So we come in and we say, look, it's a you versus them formula. You have obligations, they have obligations. Let's see how you can get the most out of your employees. And sometimes people misunderstand or they don't effectively identify what motivates their employees, what drives their employees. And the whole point of this segment of the framework is we want to improve everyone's productivity and performance between 5 to 20%. So imagine if you have a business with 10 employees and your employees are on average around 7 out of 10, which is natural in many businesses. If we can come in and we can get out of those 10 employees to an 8 out of 10 on a consistent basis, then you've improved 10 employees 10%, which compounds over the 10 employees. Obviously, it's 100% improvement, but the compound effect of that is not 100% return on investment. It's 400 or 500%, right? Because it's a compound effect. So everyone's increased by 10% and it compounds. And then the R in the framework is for riches. And this is where we look at three segments: automation, to see how we can automate what we can automate in your business to grow, what we can do in your business to essentially take it to that next step. Is it scalable? Yes. Okay, what can we automate in the business to make it scalable? Then we look at sustainable growth and not sustainable revenue. So sustainable growth means I grow 5% this month, 7% the next month, 10% the month after that, 12% the month after that, and it's a continuous growth journey. Whereas sustainable revenues, I make £100,000 this month, and then I have to sell the same amount of number of clients to make that £100,000 the next month, and so on. That's a sustainable revenue model. We look at a sustainable growth model. How can we continuously grow your business? What do we need to do to grow your business to help you scale, basically? And then the final one is scaling, actual scalability, and this is where we look to get your business to 10x. And this is where we look at product diversification, market diversification. Are you actually a scalable business, or are you where you're at now is where you're supposed to be, where we just get you that sustainable growth, where we maybe can't enter new markets, we can't enter new products into your organization. And this one's really exciting because sometimes to scale, it just might mean that we actually recruit more people as sales reps rather than entering new markets. It's just growing your team. Do you have the capital? Do you have the funds? Yes. Okay, let's look at investing in your team. And rather than having 5 salesmen, let's get 20. And then you've got 20 the level of input, which will obviously have a level of outcome as well. So that's what the SAFER framework is. And the nuts and bolts of it is, like I said before, it's the 3C formula, which we get from the prophetic mindset, which is clarity, connection, compound. So we have clarity on what we're doing, where we want to go. We have connection with our mission, our purpose, our employees, our business. And obviously, we always have to have the connection with Allah and the niyyah, the intention, what we're doing it for. And then compound. If you have the right clarity, you have the right connection, and you're doing the work, naturally, we want to compound those efforts. And the reason that I say this is the prophetic mindset, if we look at the Rasul, he had clarity in what Allah had wanted him to do in giving the da'wah. He had clarity in conveying the da'wah. He had connection with his people, he had connection with the message, he had connection with everything. And then it compounded. Over time, 1400 years later, look how many Muslims exist today. Look how many of us are still coming to Islam and how many reverts there are to Islam. And we have the biggest, the nation of the Rasul is the biggest nation. So if we use this prophetic mindset, these principles compounded and in cohesion with the SAFER framework, then inshallah we can help businesses grow.
Barakallahu fik. Very interesting what you're saying. And I suppose that the SAFER framework is in general very important. But are there aspects within that framework that you say, I see Muslims struggling or needing to improve this the most within the SAFER framework? And then next, we will talk a little bit more about that prophetic mindset, inshallah. So the question is, Is there within the safer framework a certain point that you see Muslims struggling with?
Majority of us, and this isn't just Muslims, it's everyone, we lack clarity. And that's why the first thing
Mm,
we would want to talk about and deal with is clarity. And that's why the first two segments of the framework in the safer framework are the S and the A, which is skeleton and alignment, because that's where we get the most clarity and we understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, where we want to go, how we want to do it, and what we need to implement to basically make it happen. And the difference between a strategy and a plan is that a plan is in theory. Strategy is the implementation. It's when we actually go and do the thing. How are we going to do it? Okay, let's go do it. We implement it. If it doesn't work, we change strategy. If it works, we continue and we basically just amplify what we're doing. So in general with Muslims, it's not a one problem that they maybe struggle with in the safer framework. Every business is different. Some businesses, when we go in, the biggest area they want to focus on is fluidity. The sales and the marketing, what systems and processes they have in place. For others, it's literally at the very start. They've got so many holes in their business they don't know where they are. So I think each person is different. Each person's problems and challenges will vary. But yeah, I mean, look, as people, we all need to focus our attention on achieving clarity. Once we have clarity on what we do, why we do it, how we want to, get there, where we want to go, and how we want to get there, then most of our problems are fixed.
exactly. You can't go somewhere without knowing where to go. Otherwise, you're going to do just.
Yeah, exactly. There's a difference. So knowing your destination, knowing where you want to go is really important because then you can have the goals. So we say the way we work with our clients is we always say, let's look at the macro. That's the end destination. That's where we want to get to, and then we reverse engineer it and we look at all the micro things we need to do to get there. Now, I always say this to my clients: the destination isn't the most important thing. It's important to have
Mm,
because then it gives us that thing that we want to get to. But the way Allah has created us is that once we achieve that macro, it's just the next macro after that, and the next goal after that, and the next goal after that. That's how we are, right? If you asked yourself 10 years ago, if you were to see where you are today, you'd have probably said that's amazing. But you in the present today is saying, I want to be with this place now, right? I don't want to be at the place I'm in. I want the next thing. So that's how we are as humans, subhanAllah. And going back to having clarity and understanding the signpost along the way, it's just if for example you get in a car and you don't have a sat nav, you don't actually know if you don't have a destination, you can't put in a sat nav where you want to go, so you're probably not going to go a scenic route to get your destination, or you're not going to know what's the quickest way to get there, etc. So what the macro does is it gives you the destination. But with me and what I tell my clients is, have the destination, it's great, but can we always continue to learn? Can we always have signposts along the way where it's about the process, not just the goal? It's about the process along the way. It's not about just the destination. And
exactly.
actually, if we look at it in the mindset mastery course that I have for the general public and my clients, your viewers can access it, inshallah, as well.
Allah.
We speak about the growth versus the fixed mindset. And in the growth mindset, it's always about this is where I am now. This is what I'm capable of now, right? Whereas the fixed mindset is this is what I'm capable of, and this is where I am. The difference between the two is the growth mindset doesn't have an end destination. The growth mindset means I'm going to continuously grow and grow and grow because I'm just going to keep outgrowing myself. Hence the now rather than the end of the statement without the now.
Mm,
So if you say this is where I am now, it means I know this is just temporary because I'm about to outgrow myself again and be in the next phase very soon. But if I just say, this is where I am, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm capable of, and you limit yourself to that belief, you limit yourself to that thinking, then subhanAllah, that's, um, it's the wrong thing to do because then you're limiting yourself. And I always, say that if the minute you stop learning is the minute you stop living, the minute you stop living is, subhanAllah. And that's why you see it, sometimes people when they get to the older age, when they just sit down and they're not as active, they're not as impactful in what they're trying to do, you will see that they deteriorate very quickly, subhanallah. Whereas the people that are of an old age where they're still learning, they're still doing things, they tend to have more life, they tend to have better health, they tend to have a better energy, And that's because they, haven't restricted themselves. They've just said, this is my next phase, and this is what I'm going to grow in this phase with where my body's at now. And that's just the next stage of my development.
SubhanAllah. And I can kind of think it like this way. It's like long-term thinking and short-term thinking. When I want to do something, I think it in long term, like, okay, I need to attain this goal. But what am I going to do today that I can do today? So focus on today, and every day you're going to build up to attain that goal, inshallah. Very interesting. And I want to hear more about that mindset. First of all, why is a strong mindset so important?
SubhanAllah. So just going off what you just said, though,
Mm,
what we always say is every day you have a chance and a choice, and
mm,
always focus your attention on the things you can control and not any
exactly.
external factors. I can control my action. I can control whether I come to work or whether I sit on the couch. I can control that. But I can't control if something outside of my environment, an external force, was to, for example, the internet went down today, right? So I couldn't work. I came to work, but the internet went down. That's out of my control, right? But me, I have a choice every day to come with a certain energy, a certain level of dedication to my craft, a certain level of excellence, ihsan, itqan, tawakkul. I have to tie the camel. That's what the hadith says. Tie the camel first and then have tawakkul ala Allah. So you have to be in control of your actions and you have to focus on the things in your control. And what humans do naturally, and this isn't just Muslims, humans do this, is we focus on the things that we can't control and then we get anxious about them. And then because we get anxious about them, subhanAllah, that becomes the point of stress for us. And the more stress that we have, the less clarity we have. And the less clarity we have, the more we make decisions that are not going to be in our favor. Because we're making them out of a place of stress and emotional uncomfort. And this leads to, unfortunately, some of the bad decisions that we end up making. Now, going back to having a strong mindset, the hadith says, there's one part of the body which is good, and if it is good, the rest of the body is good. And if this part of the body is bad, the rest of the body is bad. This is where the hadith was talking about. The Rasulullah was speaking about the heart. If the heart is good, the rest of the body is good. Now, this is absolutely in truth. And if you add to that, the mindset is our strongest asset, right? Because our heart, where the Rasulullah was speaking about, is our niyyah, is having a pure heart, having no evil in your heart. But after the heart, we have the mindset, our mind. And our mind tells us what to do, what to think, how we should feel. And having a strong mindset just basically means I'm able to overcome adversity. I'm able to fight on. I'm able to do things that allow me to fulfill my potential. I'm able to, let's say when I'm angry or sad, my mindset dictates that this is just an emotion. I can feel this emotion in the moment, but I need to find the quickest and best way to overcome this emotion and not let it linger too long with me. So having a strong mindset just allows us to continuously fight, continuously grow, and be as positive as we can. And sometimes positivity, people misunderstand positivity. They think if you're positive, it means you can't have a bad day, you can't have a bad moment, or you can't feel sad, that you're someone who's continuously happy and always just cheery. That's not what being positive means. There's a hadith that says, "Ajaba amrul mu'min la'allahu kullahu lahu khayr," which basically means, strange that the affair of a believer, if everything that bestows upon him, there's khair in it. So if evil bestows upon you is good, and if there's good that bestows upon you is also good. And what we learn from this is having a strong mindset and being somebody positive just means that when I'm facing adversity or when I'm faced with adversity, I remember that there's always good in that for me. I remember that Allah says that, sometimes we think something is bad for us when indeed it is good for us, and sometimes we think something is good for us when indeed it is bad for us. So any situation that Allah has put in front of me is either a test from Allah, which I should be grateful for, because Allah tests those who He loves with the hardest of tests, or this is a blessing from Allah. Again, protection. Allah is protecting me from something. So this is what having a strong and positive mindset means. It doesn't mean that I can't feel anger when I have an emotion of anger. It also means that motivation is an emotion. And a lot of people want to look for motivation. No, you should look for discipline, because discipline is when you start getting motivated. When you're disciplined every day, you come to work for that first 5 minutes of starting work. Sometimes you're like, I don't want to work today, right? I'm feeling lazy. I'm feeling tired. I had a long night, or whatever. I didn't sleep well. but you come to work. The first 5 minutes are tough. After those 5 minutes, you get motivated because you start doing tasks, and then you realize you're in flow, you've got momentum, and you start doing your tasks. So motivation actually is a byproduct of discipline and not the other way around. Some people look for motivation to get disciplined. It's actually get discipline to find motivation.
SubhanAllah, you said it all. Actually, people try to find solutions within business or life outside of Islam. And just what you said now is what they're seeking for. If you look at those self-development gurus, at those business coaches, we have everything in Islam. And subhanAllah, the great, strong mindset that you need to have is within Islam. And I think if you want to be a Muslim Amir, a Muslim leader, you have to have that mindset. What do you think that you need to have also when you want to be a Muslim Amir, a Muslim leader?
Yeah, so obviously, just for those viewers that might not know, the name Muslim Amir is because Amir al-Mu'mineen, which is Umar radiallahu anh, basically means the leader of the believers. And Amir in Arabic has two meanings, either leader or prince. So we named it Muslim Amir because we work with Muslims on leadership, and we're very passionate about improving the leadership of the Muslims. And we're on a mission to develop 1,000 Muslim leaders by 2030, inshallah. So coming back to leadership and why is it important? So first of all, as Muslims, we understand that in leadership, we are, especially as males, we're the leaders of our homes, we're leaders in our community, we're leaders in everything we should do. Now, this doesn't mean that I need to compete with others for the leadership position of I want to be the guy that leads us, right? Actually, in leadership, and if we look at Islam in the true form of Islam, the leader is usually appointed through shura, where basically you get people to discuss and vote on their leader. And if you look at the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, whenever they were told or given a leadership position, there's many hadith that show that they sometimes didn't want that because they felt it was a huge amana, a huge obligation. So why am I saying this? In Islam, leadership is, and there's a hadith that says this, the Rasulullah said, a leader is a person who's in service, who's a servant to his community, right? So we can all be servants to our community, whether it's to our parents, to our spouse, to our children, to our community, to the masjid, to whatever, right? Our employees. That's the first point, being in service. So what makes a good, effective leader? A good, effective leader is somebody who has a vision, who has a mission, is trying to get a group of people from a place to another place, from one location to the next location, and gets everyone on board this mission, to believe in this mission. And what they do to help them get there is they provide them with any resources that they need, they provide them with the motivation that they need, they provide them with the tools that they need, they provide them with everything that they might need to get from that place to that place. They share that vision with them, they share that mission with them, and they get them as passionate as themselves towards that mission. And if you see the greatest leaders of our time and history, always were able to deliver and convey their message in a way that enabled, empowered, entrusted everyone around them to believe 110% in this mission and in this vision to get there. And that's what effective leadership is. That's what makes a great leader. And we usually say that it falls into 3 L's. A good leader should always be able to listen, should always be learning, and should have the skill sets to lead, should be able to inspire those. And there are many different leadership styles. We might talk about that a bit later on, but there are various leadership styles that you may have, that you might find in an individual. They don't always have to be the same leadership style. So we can talk about that in a bit more detail later on, inshallah.
Inshallah. I think what I can add to that is we as Muslims need to be the best first of ourselves. We need to be the best people towards the people. And if you look at the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he said, Allah has prescribed ihsan in all things. Like you said, we have to perfect all our actions. And if we want to perfect leadership, we want to do that in a way that fits us. So let's talk a little bit more about those leadership styles.
So if let's look at the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, right? They all so if we look at the Arba'a Rashidin, which is Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anh, Ali radiallahu anh, Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anh, they all had different leadership styles. So Abu Bakr was a more lenient sort of leader, right? He had the leadership style where he was more softer, more gentle, okay? Whereas Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anh had more of a, we say, a dominant leadership style. He was more firm. He was more, strict, and he was somebody who was able to have a vision of where he wanted the Muslims to go and how they should be. And then if you look at Uthman bin Affan, he had a more sort of, we call it the coaching leadership style, where he was in service to the community and trying to help them. And they're all very different. And then you had Ali radiallahu anh, whose leadership style was very similar to Umar bin Khattab, because he was a warrior himself, and he was a very strong individual. And all these leadership styles are, they can all be, what's the word I'm looking for? They're all leadership styles that exist, that science has shown that this is a form of leadership style. It's not that one is better than the other. It's just, it depends on us as an individual, what type
Exactly.
of person we are, and the personality that we have, and the way that we want to inspire those around us. So, like I said, the leadership style of Umar was completely the opposite of Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. But both are effective. It's just, it depends on you as a person. And actually, when Abu Bakr was the leader, he had Khalid bin Walid lead the army, who was a strong individual. He was strong, right? He was Saifullah, the sword of Allah. He was a very strong individual. When Umar bin Khattab became the leader, he put, I forgot his name now, but he put someone in charge of the army and told Khalid bin Walid to not be the leader. He demoted him, basically. And the person that he put in charge was a bit more lenient. So you had to have these opposite leadership styles to also work in cohesion at the same time. If you look at Abu Bakr, he had Umar as his number two, right? Who is going to consult and seek advice from. So subhanallah, these leadership styles, they all exist. And I've got courses on leadership that your viewers can access, and some videos out there where we talk in a lot more detail about them and discuss the Sahaba and how they had different leadership styles as well, and the impact that they had on the community.
SubhanAllah. And what you said also is that those leaders had people around them.
Yeah.
That shows the importance of a great team.
Yes.
If I tomorrow want to seek a good partner, what
Yeah.
should I look? What type of skills, mindset, mentality should I look in this partner?
Yeah.
Because it's very important.
Exactly. And sometimes what makes a great team is sometimes like, for example, the yin and the yang, right? You need someone who's strong, someone who's lenient. And in like films, they'll say good cop, bad cop, right? In business, it's not good, or it's not recommended to have two people that are of the same person, because then you're both going to get in each other's way, right? So you might have in your business, I think you might have a business partner, right? One of you might be more focused on operations, and one of you will be more focused on the behind the scenes, the back of house. One of you might be good at numbers, the other might be good at strategy and vision. So it's always good to have people around you that complement your weaknesses. And when building teams, this is one of the key points. I should always hire somebody who's more skilled than me in the area that I'm hiring them for. That should be the areas that I hire people in, right? And then if I'm trying to grow my business even further, I hire people that are better than me at the things that I'm good at as well. So I get them to do the things that I am either really good at, or it's a weakness of mine, and I get the best of the best at that. So when I'm getting people that are better at me, for example, than at sales, I want to make the best sales teams. I'm going to get people that are better than me in that department. The weakness of mine might be tech, for example. So I'll get someone who's really good at tech to deal with the tech, and it's just about getting the right people, the right environment of people in your team, But also when hiring people, you should always look at people's attitude. So we've got the success triangle where you basically, the first thing you look at is your attitude, and this is on a personal level and when you hire people. But on a personal level as well, the success triangle is your attitude dictates your behaviors dictate your actions dictate the results, right? If you have a bad attitude, your behavior is going to be bad, which means the action is going to be bad, which means the result is probably not going to be so good. But when your attitude is excellent, your behaviors will then be excellent because your attitude is good. I'm ready to work, I'm dedicated. So the behavior is I'm going to open my laptop, I'm going to send emails out, I'm going to start working straight away. The action, because of my behavior, is then I'm now having conversations and I'm doing good. And then the success of that is I might end up on a call where I'm discussing my business with someone like yourself, right? So it all interlinks, subhanallah.
SubhanAllah. I think in this short amount of time, you've given many wisdoms. I thank you for that.
Okay.
And if you could share another wisdom with us, if there was one golden advice you will give to your Muslim brothers and sisters, what would that be in terms of business?
So the advice that I would give to any Muslim that's watching this, I would say that number one, remember Allah. For Allah tells us, remember me, I'll remember you. And be thankful to Allah, be grateful. Number two, don't stop your personal development journey. Always continuously learn, continuously grow. Try your best to be put in situations where you're uncomfortable and then get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Because that's where the most growth happens. And finally, the hadith says, Al-mar'u ala dini khalilih. So you are on the religion of your brother. You are on the belief of your brother. You are basically the people that you have in your environment, the people that surround you, they have an impact on you and you have an impact on them. So make sure that the people that are around you are charging your batteries up rather than draining them. And if you feel that people drain your batteries, then get out of that environment in a new environment where your batteries are charged. And finally, if you have a dream and you have an idea, try your best to take the first step and make that idea and dream a reality. Because most of us have imposter syndrome. Most of us have limiting belief. Most of us doubt ourselves. But guess what? The thing that separates the successful from the non-successful is just taking that first step. It's actually taking action. It's actually saying, you know what, I'm going to try it. Like our brother here today, he's taken his first step. He's started his newsletter. He's done his thing. And now he's, invited me on a podcast. Alhamdulillah, that would have never happened if he'd not taken his first step. Same with me. If I'd not taken my first step with Muslim Ameer, I wouldn't be having this conversation with Brother Philippe. So this is the power of taking your first step and having the right environment around you, inshallah.
Barakallahu fik. Great, amazing advice. And now a question that I also really like is if there was a dua that you would recommend us to do, what would that be?
MashaAllah, that's a really, really good question. There's so many du'as, to be honest. But we have to go off what the Rasulullah said is one of the best hadith is one of the best du'as to make. Seeing as Ramadan is around the corner, starting next week. So, Allahumma innaka afuwun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anna. Just as we're entering Ramadan, I think this should be one of the most recited du'as that we make. But another personal favorite of mine is Allahumma inni as'aluka ilman nafi'a wa rizqan tayyiba wa amalan mutaqabbala, which is asking Allah for the rizq and the sustenance and the actions which please Him, and we will also be pleased with. So, acceptance of where you are in life, acceptance of the qadr of Allah, of where Allah, what Allah's put in your way, the life that Allah has given you, and just acceptance and gratitude to Allah for all of that, no matter the situation. I mean, alhamdulillah ala kulli hal.
Alhamdulillah. This will be published within Ramadan, so inshallah, the brothers and sisters watching this will be having a great benefit, inshallah.
Inshallah. Ramadan Mubarak to you
Osama,
all. And if any of you are interested in any of our products, courses, in helping you take your idea or your dream from idea to reality, then please reach out to us on our socials at Muslim Ameer UK or on LinkedIn, Osama Musa, or at the LinkedIn Muslim Ameer page, inshallah. So, barakallahu feekum. And of
وفيك
course,
البركة.
having us.
It's my pleasure. Like I've said, it's an honor to have you as the first guest to this no podcast. We share the same goal. Our goal within the podcast, within the newsletter, is to inspire, to inform, and to instruct Muslims about how to gain success within the business world, inshallah. And so I thank you for that, for joining me with the first episode. Brothers and sisters watching, barakallahu fik. If you want to keep seeing this type of content, don't forget to subscribe. Barakallahu fikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.